rhymes. But I decided to write a love poem about prime numbers, and this is called 59, and this is the first poem that I wrote.
Woo!
So,
that's a good one.
59 wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, realizes all his hairs on one side of his head takes just under a minute to work out that it's because of the way that he slept, he finds some clothes and gets stressed. And he can't help but look in the mirror and be subtly impressed how he looks rough around the edges and yet casually messed. And as he glances out the window, sees the side that he is blessed with of 60 from across the street. Now 60 was beautiful, perfectly trimmed cuticles, dressed in something suitable and never rude or crude at all. Unimprovable, right on time as usual, my uncle then a snooker ball but liked to play it super cool. And 59 wanted to tell her that he knew her favourite flower, he thought of it every second, every minute, every hour, but he knew it wouldn't work. He never get the girl, so though she lived across the street, they came from different worlds. Well, 59 by 60's perfectly round figure, 60 thought 59 was odd. And one of his favourite films was 101 Dalmatians. She, of course, preferred the sequel. He romanticised the idea that they were star-crossed lovers, they could overcome the odds and the evens because they had each other, while she maintained the street was imposed on her by her mother that separate could not be equal. And though at the time he felt stupid and dumb for trying to love a girl controlled by her stupid mum, he should have been comforted by the simple son, take 59 away from 60 and you're left with the one. And sure enough, after 2 months of moping around, 61 days later, 61 was who he found. He had lost his keys and his parents were out, so one day after school he went round to her house, and as he noticed the slightly wonky numbers on the door, he wondered why he'd never introduced himself before. As she let him in, his jaw dropped in, 61 was like 60 with a little bit more. Now she had prettier eyes and an approachable smile, and like him, rough around the edges, casual style, and like him, everything was in disorganised piles, and like him, her mum didn't mind her friend stayed a while because she was like him, and he liked her. He reckoned she would like him if she knew he was like her, and it was different this time. These feelings felt proper, so he plucked up the courage and asked for her number. She said, I'm 61. He grinned and says, I'm 59. And today I've had a really nice time, so tomorrow if you wanted you could come over to mine. She said, yeah. I love talking to someone just as quirky. So she agreed to this unofficial first date. In the end, he was only ready 1 minute early, but it didn't matter because she arrived 1 minute late, and from that moment on, there was non-stop chatting. How they loved X Factor, how they had 2 factors, how that didn't matter. Distinctiveness made them better. And by the end of the night, they knew that they were meant together, and as time went by, their relationship deepened. He found all the little things about her more appealing. He had complicated ways of telling her his feelings and his reasoning for his feeling, he explained. You're 61, I'm 59. Rotated round and upside down, that's 19 and 65, the age that one might get a job until the day that they retire, so it will work between us. We've got the world to be inspired. And one day she was talking about stuck-up 60. She noticed that 59 looked a bit shifty. He blushed and told her of his crush, the best thing that never happened because it led for us. 61 was clever, see, not prone to jealousy. She looked him in the eyes and she told him quite tenderly, you're 59 and 61 together, we combine to become twice what 60 could ever be. And at this point, 59 had tears in his eyes. Was so glad to have this one-of-a-kind girl in his life. He told her the very definition of being prime to the only one, and himself could his heart divide, and she was the one he wanted to give his heart to. She said she felt the same, and now she knew the films were half true, because that wasn't real love. Their love was just a sample. When it came to real love, they were a prime example. So I've got 15 minutes, 900 seconds, 1,800 heartbeats because I'm really scared. And it's hard to believe I'm really there. And I'm starting to wish I was better prepared. I should have spent this week reading the prospectuses, not wondering what the plural of prospectus is. And basically I didn't have any time to finish it because I had that interview. And then I didn't win the competition either, and neither went that well. But then after that, was the summer holidays, and I went to Edinburgh Festival and did loads of poetry, and then now I'm doing more. And this next one I did at the European Poetry Slam Championships or something, but it ended up in an online vote, and because I had more Facebook friends than the guy from Lithuania, I ended up winning. So technically this could be called the best poem in Europe. not to overhype it, but yes, this one's called the Sunshine Kid. And could we do what's called a Mexican shush? So we start off here with a shh, and then pass it backwards. So we go shh. Anyway, this is the Sunshine Kid. Old man Sunshine was proud of his son, and it brightened his day to see his little boy run. Not because of what he'd done, nor the problems overcome, but that despite that, his disposition remained a sunny one, as it hadn't always been like this. There'd been times when he had tried to hide his brightness, and every star-hit's period of hardship, it takes a brighter light to inspire them through the darkness. And if we go back to when he was born in a nebula, we know that he never was thought of as regular because he had a flair about him. To say the Midas touch is wrong, but all he went near seemed to turn a little bronze, and this son was loved by some more than others. It was the case of Joseph and his dreamcoat and his brothers, and standing out from the crowd had its pros and its cons, and jealousy created enemies, and those he outshone, such as the shadow people. Now the shadow people didn't like the Sunshine Kid, because he showed up the dark things the shadow people did, and when he showed the places where the shadow people hid, so the shadow people had an evil plan to get rid of him. First up, they made fun of his sunspots, and shooting his dreams from the sky, their words were gunshots, designed to remind him he wasn't very cool, and didn't fit in with any popular kids at school. They said his head was up in space and they would bring him down to earth. Essentially, he came from nothing, and that was what he was worth. He'd never get to go to university to learn all the degrees he'd ever show would be the first degree burns from those that came too close. They told him he was too bright, and that's why no one ever looked him in the eyes. His judgment became clouded, and so did the sky, with evaporated tears as the sun started to cry, because the Sunshine Kid was bright, with a warm personality. And inside he burned savagely, hurt by the words and curses of the shadowy folk who spoke holes in his soul and left cavities, and as his heart hardened, his spark darkened. Every time they called him names, it cooled his flame. He thought they might like him if he kept his light dim, but they were busy telling lightning she had terrible aim, and he couldn't quite get to grips with what they said. So he let his light be eclipsed by what they said. He fell into a lone star state like Texas, and felt like he'd been punched in his solar plexus. But that's when Little Miss Sunshine came along, singing her favourite song about how we're made to be wrong, and you don't have to be wrong to belong, just be true to who you are. Because we are all stars at heart, and Little Miss Sunshine was hot stuff. The kind of girl, when he looked at her, he forgot stuff. But for him, there was no forgetting her. The minute he saw her image burn in his retina, she was out of this world, yet she accepted him. Something about this girl meant he knew whenever she was next to him, things weren't as dark as they seemed. He dared to dream, shadows weren't aware to be seen. When she was there, he beamed, and his eyes would light up in ways that can't be faked. When she grinned, her erased the razor tip words of hate. They gave each other nicknames. They were cool, star, and fun, sun, and gradually the shadowy damage became undone. She was one in a septillion, and she was brilliant, could turn the coldest-blooded reptilians vermilion, loved by billions from Chileans to Brazilians, and taught the Sunshine Kid the meaning of resilience. She says that all the darkness in the world cannot put out the light from a single candle. So how the hell could they handle your light? Only you can choose to dim it, and the sky is the limit, so silence the critics by burning. And if eyes are windows to the soul, then she drew back the curtains and let the sun shine through the hurting. So in a universe of adversity, the stars stuck together, and though days became nights, the memories would last forever. Whether the weatherman said it or not, it would be fine, because even behind the clouds, the kid could still shine. Yes, the Sunshine Kid was bright, with a warm personality, and inside he burned savagely, fueled by the fire inspired across galaxies by the girl who showed him the next one. Based on a news story I heard, that Britain got another polar bear, and previously we only had one polar bear, and now we had two, and this was news apparently. So I read this whole piece about it. The UK polar bear population doubled last year, and now that there are two, there's a little less loneliness in the world. And that's the kind of news that pleases me. Amuses and agrees with me, not filled with misery, just bare happiness. I saw a dead fox this morning. Mouth wide open as if in shock or yawning, body twisted like statistics missed. They used to be fantastic, now rolled all over the floor. And to enhance our chance in France, we sent the lions, which were posh and Bex, and hoped they would come home with a roaring success. But these lions were tamed, and the bid went up in flames until only the ashes were left. You see, for every polar bear, there was a dead fox. But for every battle lost, there is one that is won. And no news may be good news, but some news could be great news if you put the right spin on it, like Graham Swan. Cricket. I just angered it there, that was the first line. We'll keep going. I can't remember the rest.
I have been surfer.
When it snows down, the whole country might slow down. But at least the polar bears will feel more at home now. Yeah, at the time, that was great. Also, it's my birthday the other week, and now I'm 19. I feel like more of a man. So, I should show up about it. Yeah, this is my last one, but you already know. I am a man! Sometimes I put my manhood on display, like going skinny dipping in the sea on New Year's Day. I've gone up for thirds in an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I've not once worried about how much I weigh. I am a man. Sometimes I do manly things. Not to prove I'm a man, but that's just part of what it brings. So when I stay at playing FIFA on my PS3 till 4, it's not because I'm insecure, it's because it's fun. And some say that real men are brave men. And brave men are cavemen. And cavemen are men who do not really show emotion, but I say it's something is real, man. It's something you can feel, and that could be love, religion, fear or uncertainty, because real men have issues. And real men cry. That's why they make man-sized tissues for their man-sized eyes. And I cry quite a lot. In this day and age, the man's eyes are dry and not determined that he may be gay, but I'm not. I like a girl, I just cry like a girl at certain things and the hurt it brings me. My main form of catharsis is Pixar flicks. The reason that I see them in the cinemas is so you cannot see my tears behind the 3D glasses. Because I broke down in up. And I wept in Toy Story 3, was on the brink in Monsters Inc. and Cars did the same thing to me. When watching Wall-E, I wasn't worried about which of my friends' Woolies was bigger. Because something in that animation was an emotional trigger, and you may snigger. You see, these guns are not the manliest. But I figure that ain't the best way to measure manliness. Because real men have issues. And real men cry, that's why they make man-sized tissues not to be misused by never been kissed dudes and dimly lit rooms searching YouTube for big boobs. But for the man-sized tears that run from man-sized eyes. And the last one I used was watching Sky News when the story came through of Jordan Rice, who in the worst floods in years that reduced many men to floods of tears when faced with death, he didn't hesitate or take a breath, just gave his life for his brother. So I cried for the brother who died for another age 13. The age a boy steps into manhood, he proved he could fill his boots as well as any man could, because real men are brave, right? Well, they don't get much braver. So now I am 19, I'm not the most prolific shaver. If anything, I only really weekly need a razor. Maybe bi-weekly. And not as in twice weekly. As in once every 2 weeks. Maybe even longer. Sometimes I am too weak and I wish I could be stronger, man. I did Movember and nobody even noticed. But know this, I am a man. And I will always be a man, as will about half of you. Regardless who has been doing press-ups all afternoon, and when I was 13, I stand on my head till the sky was green and the grass was blue. Then somewhere on this path I grew. So yeah, I'm still a kid at heart and not ready to grow up, and when I go to Nando's I drink too much Coke and throw up, but here's something we can raise those refillable glasses to. Because growing up is something not every kid gets a chance to do.